All right, how's it going? Welcome to The Rational Live. I'm your host, David Dole. It is October 16th, 2020, and there's been a ton of tech issues on YouTube. If you noticed, if you were here earlier or caught when I went live, two different versions of the stream went up at the same time. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully everything is working right now, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on things, but YouTube is acting up. So, just so you're aware. But anyways, welcome. Lots of stories today. Let me bring up the chat just for a minute before I get into everything. Of course, therationalnational.com/join. That's the Patreon page. Help support the show, keep me going. So, in the event that one day YouTube is complete garbage, even more so than it is now, I will have your support to go somewhere else and continue this work. But hopefully we don't have to come to that. Anyways, lots to talk about today. Let me give you a little breakdown. And if I seem a little out of breath, it's because I've been running around trying to fix this shit. But here we go. So I'm going to get to the Feinstein story. Sometimes I laugh at myself for the headlines that I create. Feinstein falls in love. It's true. It's true. We will get to that. Also, Tucker Carlson's complete 180 on masks. Trump and his latest insane tweet. This is a retweet of something that is totally fake news. Also, Bernie answers an important question on healthcare. What is that? We'll get to that. Also, Joni Ernst gets embarrassed during a debate. It is sort of uncomfortable to watch, but it's Joni Ernst, so you also have to enjoy it happening. And polling in Iowa right now, looking pretty good for the Democrat. So we'll get to that. I'll also give you a polling update on Biden versus Trump, as I do every week, to show you where the race currently stands. All right. Everything still appears to be working, hopefully. Whatever, sometimes the things you got to deal with. Technology. But it's not even technology. It's YouTube itself is acting weird. But whatever. Let's hope things smooth out here. All right. And of course, throughout the stream, I'll also take your chats, as I always do. All right. Our super chats even work. Let me check the settings here. Things like nothing is working properly. I really do not like it when YouTube does this to me. All right, I think things appear to be okay. All right, let's hope. All right. Okay, the first story here. My God. So I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is Dianne Feinstein has found love. The bad news is that it's with Lindsey Graham. If you did not see what happened during the hearing yesterday, I'm going to show you. So this, of course, is during this week of sham hearings for Amy Coney Barrett. This is after the GOP blocked Merrick Garland in Obama's last year. That began in February of that year, 2016. And they claimed that, it's an election year. Got to let the people decide who the Supreme Court pick's going to be. So they blocked anything from happening because the GOP controlled the Senate. And so Obama never got his pick. And now in the final weeks before an election, people having already voted, the GOP is trying to push through a Supreme Court pick. And what does Dianne Feinstein do? This is the ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. What does she do? Let me show you. It starts with this.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you.
If the audio was louder, that'd be nice.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you. This has been one of the best set of hearings that I've participated in. And I want to thank you for your fairness and the opportunity of going back and forth. It leaves one with a lot of hopes, a lot of questions, and even some ideas, perhaps some good bipartisan legislation we can put together to make this great country even better. So thank you so much for your leadership.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This entire set of hearings is a sham. And here Dianne Feinstein is thanking Lindsey Graham for his leadership. This is the guy that said, hold me to account if I try to push through a Supreme Court nominee in an election year for the GOP. And that's exactly what he's doing. Not even in the election. He's doing it in the final weeks. Yet, Dianne Feinstein thanking him for his leadership. And this isn't the end of it, but I'll get to more. And this is also while he is in a Senate race against Jamie Harrison, who is doing very well right now in polling against Graham. There's mixed polling on this. This one has Graham up by 6 points. Another poll has Harrison up by 1 point. So Jamie Harrison's looking pretty good right now. But what can Graham do? He can take this clip and put it into an ad. And maybe he's already done that. In addition to that, the hug at the end, hugging Lindsey Graham to top it all off. Now, the thing about this, it didn't just anger people that are on the left or progressive. This angered everybody. This angered liberals, conservative liberals. This angered people who you would not normally expect to be pissed off at Dianne Feinstein. And I'm going to show you a bit of that in a minute. First, this from Common Dreams. Up in arms over failed Barrett hearings. Watchdog calls for Feinstein's removal as ranking member on Senate Judiciary, allowing the California Democratic Senator. Yeah, I should have mentioned. This is, again, Senator from California, the bluest state in the country, hugging Lindsey Graham and thanking him. Anyways, allowing the California Democratic Senator to remain, argues demand Justices Brian Fallon is a monument to our side's weakness on the fight for the courts. So Brian Fallon is somebody who I believed worked for Hillary Clinton in 2016, but has since been attempting to be a little more more of a voice for progressives or the left during this time. But here, this is one example of left-wing groups or progressive groups calling out Dianne Feinstein. I mean, essentially they all did, but that's one example. But it goes even further than that. So here's some. I saw a couple of these, and they're worth sharing. So, Tom Watson, who, if you know anything about Tom Watson, and you're on Twitter, he is one of the worst people to come into contact with. A heavy, centrist, Hillary Clinton defender, that wing of the party. But here he is back in 2018 saying, I see performative progressives have started a primary her hashtag to attack Senator Feinstein. That's a very bad look, especially this year. But go right ahead, see where it gets you. Well, he feels a little differently today to the tweet saying Dianne Feinstein praising Barrett and then inexplicitly praising Graham is a clear sign that she should not remain as the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee. Tom Watson agrees. This is somebody that you would not think in a million years would criticize Dianne Feinstein, but even he can't keep his mouth shut. Another example here. This one is, so just to give credit here, Walker Bregman shared this one. The Horse Whisperer. I'm actually blocked by this account. I'm not even sure why. I don't remember ever interacting with them, but this is somebody who has, I forget who runs this account, but it is a Democratic operative. This account's been quoted on MSNBC before. These people know who runs this account. This is somebody who has, this account's attacked the left-wing progressives, Bernie Sanders, all throughout the primaries, continue to do so. But here, back in 2018, they tweet this out. Twitter, I'm not sexist, I just don't support her. Who, do you mean Hillary? Twitter, yep. Me, Dianne Feinstein. Twitter, her too. So anyways, Horse Whisperer criticizing people, calling them sexist if you're against, Hillary Clinton or Dianne Feinstein, just completely ignoring what they actually represent in terms of policy. But even this account, much respect for Senator Feinstein and her long career of service. This, however, was a complete failure, which we cannot afford to see repeated. Even the Horse Whisperer attacking or criticizing Dianne Feinstein. This is just a gift to Lindsey Graham and the GOP and makes it harder for Democrats to argue that this entire process was a sham. Democrats should not have shown up to this to begin with. But if they're going to show up, at least do your job and be able to communicate what this process is about, the sham that it is. But no, instead, Dianne Feinstein does the complete opposite. Now, there's a little more here. I just want to bring up the damage that Amy Coney Barrett could do. There's been, countless criticisms, various ways that she could damage the future for Americans. Of course, Roe v. Wade, the ACA, potentially a lot more. But this one also came out and hasn't been discussed as much, so I want to share this and some responses to it. Supreme Court nominee Judge Barrett doesn't say if Social Security and Medicare are constitutional. If you are somebody who you haven't decided yet whether you're voting or not, understand the kind of power that a court this conservative would have and the damage they could do. Some reactions to this. Bernie Sanders tweeting out, Social Security has been law of the land for 85 years, Medicare for 55. Tens of millions are dependent upon these programs for retirement, security, and health, and Judge Barrett doesn't know if they are constitutional. Really? That's what right-wing extremism is all about. Sherrod Brown here saying this is exactly exactly what we would expect from a justice handpicked by Trump and McConnell, a corporate judge who will help them gut Social Security and Medicare. Elizabeth Warren here saying Amy Coney Barrett's record makes it clear that she'll vote to rip away health care. In fact, she won't even say that programs like Medicare are constitutional. Seniors and all Americans should be worried about Barrett tipping the scales of the court. And Ron Wyden here, this Republican's endgame. Confirm conservative judges who will undermine overwhelmingly popular programs like Social Security, Medicare, and rip away health care from millions. Make no mistake, your earned benefits are on the chopping block. All right. On the upside, though, it's good to see Dianne Feinstein has found love. So I wish her well. But Not sure how long that relationship's going to last. But I wish them both well. All right, some chats coming in. Good to see that's working. All right, it does appear YouTube is working now. Amazing. That's great. It's great. Good. Okay, let me grab some chats. Let me go back to chat mode. Even though I can't really read these as I'm reading super chats, but keeps the video interesting. All right. Oh, a lot of chats already. All right. Let's see here. Miranda writes, Lev says, we are here for it, David. No worries. Thank you, Miranda. Adam Bryceland says, yeah, David, I already voted Dem down ballot here in Iowa already, bro. Though just wondering, ever thought of getting a haircut again at all? LOL. One day. But not today, not tomorrow. Literal Lil says, testing your super chat. Thank you. Koru says, just seeing if this is working. Thank you again. Joe Shalom sends a bar face multiple times. I assume this is over Feinstein's newfound love. Don't judge her. She's found someone that she loves, and I just thought we would find out in a different way, as opposed to her helping to destroy Democrats while doing so. But, you know, everybody finds love in a different way. So good for Feinstein. Nick says many European countries, including the Netherlands, are now reporting more COVID cases than the U.S. The U.S. should prepare for an even worse second wave. It will get worse before it gets better. Yeah, the U.K. right now, not looking good in daily cases. Other countries, I assume, as you say there as well. Yeah, and if there is a second wave, as we are seeing right now in many countries, in countries where they did have steps put in place to prevent the spread of the virus, just imagine what you're going to continue seeing in the U.S. And I've showed the graph. I'm not going to bring it up now. In fact, I think I have a story coming up at some point where I do show the graph. But you've seen the graph a million times. The U.S. compared to other major countries, the cases are out of control in the U.S. And the U.S. has never really gotten out of the first wave. They're still in the first wave, but there's like 3 big waves within that first wave. If you haven't seen the graph, where have you been? But I'm going to show it in a bit. But yeah, this is not going to go away until there's a vaccine. RDX Devin Nunez's cow says, stop the Saskatchewan party, vote NDP. Yes, vote for the NDP. I'm not following that race at all, but I do know that the NDP are, I believe, in second in that race. Yes, vote NDP. Sunil Matwani says, how much did that lady nodding her head drive you crazy at Trump's town hall? I tried to ignore her, but yes, it was noticeable. The lady behind Trump kept nodding every time Trump was talking. I'm not sure if, a skeptical me would say she was planted there somehow, but I really just think it was luck of the draw, and they got someone right behind Trump who was a sycophant. All right, pausing there to prep the next story. Wait, I'm seeing a Feinstein message, so I might as well read that now as it applies to the previous story. First here, Samantha Sider says, planning on voting for Biden in Illinois tomorrow. Good. Yes, vote early if you can. Make sure that vote is counted on Election Day. You know there's going to be lineups on Election Day. So just, if you're waiting till then, just be aware of that. Plan ahead. Make sure you have the time to wait in line. Definitely vote. But if you have the ability to, vote early. Rob Dom says, flood her inbox, senator@feinstein.senate.gov. There you go. I mean, I'm sure she's seen the backlash. How could she not? I also should have mentioned in that piece, I just forgot, Dianne Feinstein was aggressive towards climate change activists. If you You may have heard of that story. I think it was a few years ago now. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where there were these, I think it was the Sunrise Movement, though I'm not positive, but they were these climate activists. They were mostly kids in Feinstein's office telling her, the importance of pushing for real climate change legislation. And she was arguing with them. She got into an argument with them and said that she knows best, that they don't know what they're talking about. And so she actively attacking climate activists that are trying to do good, meanwhile hugging Lindsey Graham for his fantastic leadership. It's one thing if she was a senator of, I don't know, Alabama, but she's a Democratic senator in California. It's amazing she has stayed there as long as she has. Okay. Pausing there to prep this next story. All right. So it turns out that Tucker Carlson is a hypocrite. I know. Shocking. But the latest example of Carlson's hypocrisy is over mask wearing. So Media Matters did a fantastic job here, cutting together various clips of Tucker Carlson over the past year discussing masks. Check this out.
Dissent used to be a defining feature of American life, but no more. Now we have mandatory consensus. Masks are good. Anyone who questions the utter goodness of masks is bad. What they're really telling you is that masks are magic. What appears to be a flimsy cotton face covering is in fact a holy amulet that protects us from disease more reliably than any modern medicine. Masks are great. They have their place. Surgeons wear masks in operating rooms. People wear masks in elevators and crowded stores, and good for them. It probably helps. We've been arguing that for 6 months. Before the Surgeon General himself recommended masks, we thought, why would masks be a bad idea? So we're not against masks. We never will be. Many schools that do plan to reopen will do so under a series of restrictions that have no basis of any kind in science. It's a kind of bizarre health theater. Students will be kept 6 feet apart. Everyone will have to wear a mask. Class size will be limited. In some schools, there will be scheduled bathroom breaks, etc., etc. No sports. Of course, masks work. Everyone knows that. Dozens of research papers have proved it. In South Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, the rest of Asia, where coronavirus has been kept under control, masks were key. So look, we understand there's a shortage of masks. We understand only certain people should get them because it's a triage moment. We get it.
So great work there from Media Matters. And I just want to show you countries that take masks seriously versus the U.S. that doesn't. So here you see Japan, South Korea, China. These countries are heavy mask-wearing countries. Many of them wearing masks even without any kind of mandate. Japan is one example of that. People just wore masks immediately. It was no big deal. All their numbers here, very low. And that's the U.S. Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason. There's also, many other countries have real financial help in terms of wage subsidies, in terms of a UBI. There has been a more, the virus in general just taken seriously by leadership in most other countries. But when you have someone who is the president of the United States stop a mask stop 5 masks from going out to every household, a plan that the USPS had back in April. It was ready. They were going to send 5 masks to every U.S. household. Trump stopped that from happening. This is the result. Imagine if most people wore masks. Now, it's not a 100% thing, obviously. But if you're talking with somebody and you're physically distanced for the most part and you both have masks on, there's less of a chance of you getting the virus if one of those people, if the other person has the virus but has a mask on and you have a mask as well. It just cuts down the chances. So why would you not wear one? But people don't take it seriously, and it's not even just people. It's leadership. It comes down to leadership. If Trump took masks seriously, his audience would have listened, because it's a cult. They listen to his every word. If he told his audience, hey guys, you got to wear a mask, stay safe, I can't imagine Trump ever saying those words, but imagine he said that to his base. You got to stay safe, wear a mask, physically distance, and here's some financial help. Here's a universal basic income. Here's a wage subsidy to ensure that you're able to stay home as much as possible, but still be able to pay the bills. And stay safe when you go out. Wear a mask. The numbers would be nowhere near what they are right now. But this is the result. You haven't even left the first wave. Like, this is the first. Like, I'm laughing because this is just so absurd. This was the first wave, and it's still going into a second one, and then into a third one. And because we're seeing, let me show you a country that actually has a second wave, as none of those do. But like Canada, for example, right now, we're seeing a second wave. And it's beginning to be a little higher than the first. In fact, it is higher than the first wave. Don't be surprised if this third wave, or whatever you want to call this, is higher than the second wave here. In fact, that seems most likely, as Trump continues not to take this seriously. Places are not shutting down. People are not given real financial help. So life goes on as if everything is normal when everything is not normal. Not to mention he's holding, rallies with thousands of people showing up. So you're going to continue seeing this increase in cases, and so much of this could have been prevented if Trump, the media, of course, and everybody else just took masks seriously. Okay. Back to some chats. Hold on. Here we go. Darren Butler says, hey, David, been watching for quite some time. First donation ever. Question, would a Swiss-styled democracy work with the USA? Wish you luck for November. I'm not sure what a Swiss-style democracy is. I can look it up. Do you mean like is it a parliamentary system? The issue with changing, my issue with questions like this, not that your question's fine, but you can't just change the system. Honestly, I think pretty much anything at this point would be better than what Americans currently have. I would think a parliamentary system would be a lot better, but how would you actually go about doing that when you already have your system in place? I just don't know the steps necessary. It's not that easy to just flip a switch and now you got a new style of democracy. Oh, you mean direct democracy? Well, yes, that would be an improvement. Honestly, I would just look at how countries are performing and think, hey, this country is doing better than America currently is, probably whatever they're doing would be an improvement over what Americans currently have. And that applies across the board. It applies to policy as well, of course. Like, that's why we look at comparing healthcare systems around the world. Because this is how, as nations, this is how you grow and learn. You should be looking outside your borders and seeing what works, what doesn't around the world. And don't just assume that you got everything in place and you're the best democracy in the world and the best country in the world and nothing should change. Obviously, that is just not the case. And even if you thought it was the case, it would just be the right thing to look around the world and see what other countries are doing. So the answer to your question, based on what little knowledge I have, is yes. But if it's direct democracy, yes. Massive improvement. And all you really got to do is just look at how the Swiss are doing compared to you. Mike Parquet says healthcare tycoons added $150 billion to their wealth between early April and late July. You think that lobby might prefer to see COVID continue unabated? Well, yeah. I mean, that's why, yeah. Yes. That's why you're not seeing any push for anybody making money off of the healthcare system. Yes, it benefits you financially, at least in the short term, to continue having a system where people have to pay you to get treatment. And in fact, there's a story that I didn't have time to really fully flesh out into a complete story, but I'm going to bring it up here since it's kind of on topic. This. The COVID-19 treatment remdesivir has no substantial effect on a patient's chance of survival, a clinical trial by the World Health Organization has found. This is the treatment that has been overcharged for Americans. So this is from Gilead. Gilead is charging Americans, I forget exactly how much more, but a lot more for Americans to use remdesivir compared to other countries. And that's because other countries have the ability to negotiate down their pharmaceutical prices as a whole. The US doesn't have a single body that does that. So they're able to charge Americans substantially more for the exact same treatment. So of course, look, if you're at Gilead, you love that the fact that the US cannot negotiate down the prices because it personally benefits you financially, at least in the short term. And I keep saying in the short term because if everyone dies, then how much are they really going to benefit? But that's, long-term thinking there. But again, this is why you have to have regulations in place, protections in place that are in the interest of people. And that includes, completely transforming the healthcare system away from a for-profit system into one that exists to serve the people. Healthcare should be free at the point of use, always. The fact that this is still even a debate is insane. Talk to anybody else. There's those videos that were out last year or months ago where they talked to people, this one network talked to people in the UK and they were quizzing them on how much certain procedures cost in America. And people there were shocked to find out how much it costs to give birth, for example, or have, a broken leg or a broken arm fixed. So if you don't live in the US, I don't think you really have any idea. If you don't pay attention to the daily news cycle and how things really are in the US, people have no idea around the world just how crazy the US healthcare system is until they are told about, specifically how much certain things cost. And then it really hits us. Just the pure insanity of having to worry about getting sick or getting into an accident or maybe getting cancer, things that aren't your fault, but having to worry about that because then you may go broke, you may go bankrupt over healthcare bills. It is completely insane. Going bankrupt over medical bills does not exist in other countries. Doesn't exist. But it's the most common form of bankruptcy in the US. So that should tell you all you need to know. Okay. Maybe there's one more I can grab here. Radzoso says Barrett couldn't name the 5 freedoms protected under the First Amendment. That disqualifies her. By the way, I already voted in Nevada. Good for you. And yeah, I covered that in another story yesterday. But yeah, if you're running to be a justice, it seems like something pretty basic for a judge to know. But good. I'm glad you voted in Nevada. It does seem like a lot of people are, even if you didn't like Biden, a lot of people are voting just to get Trump out. People have seen enough damage over the past several months, whether it's through COVID, whether it's because of the protests and Trump's reaction to them, or whether it's something else. People realize that it's time for him to go. And I will get to some polling at the end of the stream that also supports that. All right, next story here. Donald Trump, knowingly or unknowingly, retweeted a satirical news story as if it was fact. Now, I'm also going to show you a clip from the town hall that dives into this a little bit as well. But first here, let me show you what he tweeted out this morning and has not deleted. I took a screenshot of this on my phone just in case he deleted it. Has not deleted it. It is still up. Here he tweeted out at 6 in the morning. Twitter shuts down entire network to slow spread of negative Biden news. Now, I'm not sure if this is his comments. I think this is his comment. Yes. So Trump says, wow, this has never been done in history. This includes his really bad interview last night. Why is Twitter doing this? Bringing more attention to Sleepy Joe and Big T. Yeah. This is how fake news spreads. Now, again, whether he knows it's fake or not, to me, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the impact on society. This website, the Babylon Bee, I mean, you look at all you got to do is hover over their name. Fake news you can trust. It is a fake news site. It is a conservative, satirical fake news site. And I was reading an article about them. Apparently, they have millions and millions of views a month on Facebook. Facebook helps to spread this BS. I guarantee you have an aunt or an uncle who would see a story like this and think it's real. And that's how bullshit spreads. And Trump, the president of the United States, helping to spread that BS. Now, I want to play this clip from the town hall that Trump had on NBC that kind of dives into this. And I think for the live audience here, I think this starts 15 seconds in.
Radical left.
Just this week, you retweeted to your 87 million followers a conspiracy theory that Joe Biden orchestrated to have SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEAL Team 6, killed to cover up the fake death of bin Laden. Now, why would you send a lie like that to your followers? You retweeted
That was a retweet. That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves.
You're
I don't
the
take a
president.
position.
You're not like someone's crazy uncle who can just retweet whatever.
That was a retweet, and I do a lot of retweets. And frankly, because the media is so fake and so corrupt, If I didn't have social media, I don't call it Twitter, I call it social media, I wouldn't be able to get the word out. And the word is false. And you know what the word is? The word is very simple. We're building our country stronger and better than it's ever been before. And that's what's happening, and everybody knows it.
Okay, we got a bunch of questions for you.
We're winning.
All right. He says there that the media is so fake. I tweet these things out because the media is so fake. He was just asked about, why did you share a fake story? And his response is, well, the media is so fake. So you make it better by sharing fake news. I'm sure the lady behind who was nodding the whole time, I'm sure she was, yeah, look at her. She's nodding along. If you watch this town hall, this lady would not stop nodding. Oh, of course, Trump knows. Yes. Dear leader Trump, he's exactly right. I think at some other point in that answer as well, he says, I don't call it Twitter, I call it social media. I don't know what the point of that line is. I don't call it Twitter, I call it social media. Okay. And to the point about the crazy uncle of Philip Raines here says, need to take issue with Savannah Guthrie for saying to Trump, it's not like you're someone's crazy uncle. Mary Trump, Trump's niece, tweets, actually, ... Yeah. Look, this stuff, I know people say, oh, Trump's tweets, whatever. This has a cultural impact. People are dumber today because Trump is president. That is just a fact. People are dumber today because Trump has been president for 4 years. The amount of misinformation he has put out there that people just take in and believe. There is about 30% of people right now they're too far gone. They're unreachable. You probably have friends or family that are like that. You just can't talk to them because they will not believe what you say. You can show them, an article about people that, they have research, or scientists, or there's actual fact written out. They will not believe the fact. They will believe what they want to believe. They will believe what the supreme leader says. So I'm not sure how to deprogram those people. It may take years. It may never happen. But he has an entire base that are just completely stuck in this cult-like mentality and will always question actual facts and will never question him. All right. More stories coming up. Of course, I always keep you entertained. Gina McGrath says ranked choice voting, adding D.C. and Puerto Rico as states, getting rid of the Electoral College, and a national referendum would turn the U.S. into a more democratic country. Yes, it would. All those things would. Now, the issue is, how do you get those done? The first step is ensuring that you don't have a Republican as president. But even with a Democratic president, it's going to be tough to pass any of that. So it all requires a people-powered movement. It requires protests. It requires, marches on Washington. It requires a lot to get something, to get all of that through. And, I wouldn't be here doing this work if I didn't think it was possible. I do think it's possible. I do think it's possible to create a better world, a better society. And that's why I'm here doing this. Otherwise, what's the point? Thank you, Junie, for your message. All right. One more here before I move on. Miranda Writes Left says, I feel dumber every time I hear Drumpf, for sure. Yeah. If you were flipping back and forth between the two town halls last night, like I was, as I said in my breakdown of them, it was night and day. Night and day. I thought I was going to stick with the Trump town hall the entire time because I expected it to be more entertaining, even though it'd be more depressing, more entertaining. But once that first commercial break hit during the Trump town hall and I switched to Biden's, I didn't go back. I mean, I eventually went back to watch it all, but I didn't want to go back. Biden's town hall, while his responses, of course, are not enough, we know from his platform it's not enough. We know all this. But just comparing Trump to Biden, it is two completely different worlds. And I think a lot of Americans, just your average person who may not even be a voter, but they're tired of the Trump insanity, your average person is going to notice that. They're going to see Trump being all chaotic, being evasive, not answering questions, and then see Joe Biden, calm, cool, collected, being empathetic to the people that are asking him questions, answering the questions directly, not avoiding the questions. It really was night and day. And I mean, Biden even admitted that his vote for the crime bill was a mistake. To have somebody who is a politician who is willing to admit mistakes, and by the way, Biden was not willing to do that before. So I think Biden's actually gotten better as a candidate during this campaign, because, you know, during the primary, he would not apologize for anything he voted for. But he apologized for that last night. That's an improvement. And when you see him next to Trump, my God, at least I long for the day when Trump is out and I can focus my attention on defeating a Biden administration from the left. But got to hold off on that. And by the way, yes, I've been biting my tongue quite a bit with Joe Biden, especially this month before the election. I just don't. The way I view, my ability to influence people here is I take it seriously. We're right before the election. Why am I going to waste time attacking Joe Biden when I know he's not going to change? Biden's campaign aren't watching my videos. It's going to have no effect on him. It would only affect a voter base that is on the left, my audience, into maybe preventing them from going out to vote. So I don't want to do that. I want Trump out. So I'm going to focus on Donald Trump and his insanity. And I'm going to hold off on Biden until hopefully he becomes the president. And then we will hit him with that dragon fire. Just wait. Just wait. Once he is inaugurated, it's a whole different game. And I'm looking forward to that. All right. Next story. I like this one. I like this one a lot. You will see what it is. Okay. Bernie Sanders was interviewed by the Young Turks yesterday and gave a great answer on what he can do about healthcare if Biden wins. Because, of course, Bernie Sanders supports Medicare For All. Joe Biden supports a public option. Does Bernie have some ability to maybe influence Joe Biden or influence the direction on healthcare once Joe Biden becomes president? Watch this.
If Biden does win, he's going to push for a public option. Obviously, you're in favor of Medicare for All. Where does that leave you? Do you support him in pushing forward the public option? Is there a progressive pushback and fight for Medicare for All in a Biden administration?
Well, I will tell you where it leaves me. Everything being equal, if the Democrats gain control over the Senate, and I want to remind all of the viewers, of course, the presidential election is enormously important. Do not forget about the Senate. Democrats stand a reasonable chance of gaining control of the Senate. If they do, Cenk, I will be the chairman of the subcommittee on health. And let me tell my good friends in the healthcare industry and the pharmaceutical industry that if I get that position, and I believe I will, your world is going to change. So, of course, we're going to continue the push for Medicare for All. Now, the bill that I presented was a 4-year transition. I didn't go to Medicare for All in one day because I don't think you can do that. In the first year, Biden now wants to see the eligibility age for Medicare go from 65 down to 60. There hasn't been enough discussion on that. That's important. The first year of my bill, 4-year transition, has it go down to 55. So in the first year, what I would like to see is us lower that age to 55 and cover all of the kids in America on year one. That is something I certainly will be pushing on. I will also be pushing to make absolutely clear that we end the outrageous collusion and price fixing of the pharmaceutical industry, and that the people of our country do not pay higher prices for prescription drugs than the people of any other country on earth. Also on that committee, which I will be number 2, the Health Education Labor Committee, Pension Committee, we will pass a $15 an hour minimum wage. And what I'm working on, Cenk and Anna, right now is what I call a 100-day proposal. I want Democrats to come out of that gate very, very rapidly. It is not business as usual. We don't have 6 months to study an issue. We know what we have to do for the American people in education, in climate change, in the economy, in healthcare. Let's do it. Let us try to restore the confidence of the American people in the political process. Let them know that there are some of us who are fighting for the working class of this country, and we are going to deliver.
I was really impressed by this answer. In fact, I was expecting him to completely sidestep the question, because he's asking Bernie, what are you going to do if Biden wins? How are you going to pressure him? It's the kind of question where, earlier on in the interview, Bernie basically said that, right now isn't the time to go after Biden, hold that fire for after the election. So I assumed he would do the same with this question. But no, he lays out a fantastic plan here. He's going to be the chairman of the subcommittee on health. He's going to have a prominent position when pushing healthcare legislation. That doesn't mean, this isn't a guarantee of Medicare for all, but it means that there's an ally in the fight close to the fight. And if you have, that pressure from inside, in addition to pressure from outside, maybe a massive protest on Washington for Medicare for all, wouldn't that be great? It would move the conversation. At the very least, it would move the conversation. And Medicare for all would be a continued element in that discussion when it comes to discussing what people need with healthcare. When you have COVID-19, giving the perfect example of why you can't have healthcare tied to your employer. How many people lost their healthcare because they had healthcare tied to their employer and now they lost their job? No more healthcare. When you have an example like that, helping to bolster the argument for Medicare for all, it just higher the chances of it happening. So having Bernie, get very deep into the discussion here and really break down exactly how he's going to fight for pushing a Biden administration on healthcare is fantastic. And he also brought up the $15 an hour minimum wage, which Biden does support and has been discussing, and it's good to see him discuss that. That's an actual move to the left from 2016. 2016, Hillary Clinton only backed $13 an hour. I will say, though, just to be completely, fair, Hillary's healthcare plan lowered the Medicare age to 55. Biden's lowers it to 60. So that's going backwards. But as Bernie discusses there, his plan would in the first year would lower it to 55, his Medicare for all plan. And I imagine he's going to be fighting for that in his position as well. So this is, it gives me a little hope. And this, in addition to this recent story from Politico, AOC House progressives warn Biden on corporate hires. A letter from left-wing lawmakers and groups calls for corporate lobbyists and high-ranking executives to be shut out of a Biden administration. Now, is this letter really going to, change everything? No. But it shows you that there is a willingness here to fight. They're getting, they're attempting to at least get in the conversation now. And keep in mind, this fight is also happening from the right. At the same time that the left is trying to do this, the right is also trying to get their people into a future Biden administration. So this is going to be a constant battle. But seeing that there are actual people in positions of power fighting for this, and it's not just activists from outside, the walls of Washington, but it's people from inside directly in connection with the Biden campaign. There's a potential here to get some solid people in the Biden administration. So keep an open mind. Again, it's important to be skeptical, of course, but it's also important not to lose hope. If you just go through life every day thinking, oh, everything sucks, nothing's going to get better, then why are you even bothering? Why do you bother listening to this stuff? Why do you bother educating yourself? Why do you bother being in this fight? You're likely watching this. You're in this fight. You read up on this stuff because you care, because you want things to change. So it's important to understand that this is how that change starts. This isn't, a declaration of actual change, but it is an indication that change can happen if you continue this push. All right. Chat. Mama Bear says, attending a wedding of people who get high off Trump's farts. Luckily, ceremony is outdoors. Refused to stay for indoor reception. Still worried. It is good it's outdoors. I got to be honest with you, though. If somebody was having a wedding right now, I don't care. I don't care if it's my twin brother. I wouldn't go. I just wouldn't go. That's me. But, I just think it's not the right time. But good on you for, sticking to that commitment and going and having to walk through Trump's farts. Hopefully not too many. But definitely, if you can, stay outside. And yes, do not go to the indoor reception. But yeah, I don't know. I've seen, Instagram images and people on Facebook, people getting married right now. I think it's kind of selfish, personally. If you're getting married right now, I think it's kind of selfish. You are forcing other people to do what they don't want to do, and that's expose themselves to the virus with tons of other people. I mean, if it's 10 people at the reception, okay, whatever. But if you're having a big wedding right now, I'm sorry, you're kind of selfish. But that's just my opinion. All right, next story. I like this story a lot. In fact, maybe my favorite story of the day. Every week there's one story usually that sticks out to me. This one is thoroughly enjoyable in every way imaginable. So I think you'll dig this. Just give me a minute to prep it. All right. Great. My eye is twitching. It's fantastic. All right. This is a great story. Great story. Great story. So recently, there was a debate between GOP Senator Joni Ernst and Democratic challenger Teresa Greenfield. Now, this is, of course, in Iowa, and I'm going to get to some polling later showing you how this race currently sits. But there was one moment during this debate where Joni Ernst just embarrasses herself. It is not good. As somebody who is an outsider, of course, I don't know the answer to this question. You're going to see what it is. But as somebody who is in Iowa, who is the senator in Iowa, apparently this is a thing that you should know, and Joni Ernst does not. But before I get to her, I got to show you the Democrat and how she answered the same question. So here is Teresa Greenfield answering this very important question for the voters of Iowa.
My question is a simple ag question.
I will pause this for the live audience so I can give you some actual audio boost. People don't know how to post audio. That's fine.
My question is a simple ag question. Teresa Greenfield, you answer first. What's the break-even price for a bushel of corn in Iowa this week?
Well, a bushel of corn's going for about $3.68 today, $3.69, and break even really just depends on the amount of debt someone has. I suspect there's farmers that are breaking even at that price. However, if their yields are down 50%, that's certainly not going to cover it for them. I'll tell you, we've had low commodity prices for too long. They've been going out of business prices.
Senator, break-even price.
All right, we'll get to Joni Ernst in a second. Great answer there. Teresa Greenfield knows her stuff. Of course, I have no idea what the price is, but it's good to see Greenfield does. This, I assume, obviously, this shows that you're actually engaged with the people. The average person in Iowa, you know what's going on. A lot of farmers there. You are in the conversation. You know what's happening. You know what people are dealing with. Showing you Greenfield there, the Democrat knows what she is talking about. Now, let's get to Joni Ernst. This is cringy. If you don't like cringe, I'm sorry. There's no way to avoid it. But watch her answer to this question.
Well, thank you very much. I might have missed it, but I don't think you answered my question. What's the break-even price for soybeans in Iowa? You grew up on a farm. You should know this.
I think you had asked about corn, and it depends on.
I asked her corn.
It depends on what the inputs are, but probably about $5.50.
Well, you're a couple dollars off, I think, here because it's 10:05. So, we'll move on to something else.
And I don't think Ms. Greenfield answered either.
She actually did with the price of corn. We'd asked for the price of soybeans from you, Senator. You want to take another crack at it?
No, thank you. You said the break even for corn is $10.50. I don't think that's correct.
Right, that would have been for beans. Ron's question was soybeans
or maybe
to you,
I'm not
Ms.
hearing.
Greenfield, to corn to Ms. Greenfield. Well, let's go ahead and move on to a completely different subject.
Ouch. Yes, you were not hearing it properly. That's what it was. I wonder how much this will affect voters in Iowa. First up, though, before I get to some of the reaction from the press, Teresa Greenfield jumped on this brilliantly, now asking for campaign donations of $10.05, the answer the debate moderators were looking for from Joni Ernst last night on soybeans. Beautiful. This is a brilliant campaign move. Great strategy. It keeps that answer or that non-answer, that wrong answer in the conversation, keeps it going, reminds people Joni Ernst is disconnected from the average person in Iowa, whereas Teresa Greenfield knows what's going on. And you saw press like this, Iowa Starting Line, their story on this, it's clear who the real scrappy farmer is for Iowa Senate. Love it. Love it. Let's read their first paragraph here. The veneer of Joni Ernst's farm girl image got pulled back ever further last night, at last night's Iowa Senate debate, revealing the foundation of a D.C. politician who lost touch with her roots long ago. Joni Ernst lost touch with her roots. Greenfield knows what's going on. Fantastic. Let's check out the polling right now, because I was surprised to learn that Greenfield is doing really well. This latest poll from Data for Progress, who has been fairly accurate in their polling up till now, Greenfield leading 47%. It may be hard to see if I don't zoom in. Here we go. Greenfield leading 47% to Joni Ernst at 43%. Not bad. Another poll, YouGov. Greenfield leading 47 to 43. Civics poll, Greenfield leading 49-46. Quinnipiac University poll, 50-45. Looking pretty good right now. So that would be an incredible pickup. Understand, I mean, of course you should know this, but the presidency isn't everything. If Democrats can win the presidency and the Senate, and of course keep the House, it will go a long way to being able to, just completely ignore what conservatives have to say at all, and then allow us to really focus the debate on democratic socialism versus neoliberalism. So that's what I'm hoping for. Of course, if you're in Iowa, you know who to vote for. Make sure you vote for the one that actually knows what people are going through. I guess the only thing left to say is politics is funny. It really differs from state to state. This is a question that I wouldn't even think would matter personally. But again, I'm not from Iowa. Obviously, I get it. If you're from there, it's an indication of people that are still connected to the average person. And clearly Greenfield showed you that she is, well, Joni Ernst is completely disconnected. All right. Love that story. Love it. All right. Next up is polling update. And then I'm just going to chat with all you fine folk before we get out of here. It is time for the weekly polling update. Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, who is leading right now nationally and, of course, in battleground states and some other random states that I'll pick out while we're looking at these at this data. So allow me to go down here in the corner so we can get a full view on what is going on. I picked 538 because they have really the best way of weighing different polls, and they were the most accurate in 2016 when it came to that election. So I'm going to stick with them from now on and what their averages are showing. So first, let's start with national. So Biden continues to sit in the lead fairly comfortably by 10.5 points. Now, usually, most general elections tend to narrow near the end. This one's different. People are really making up their minds and are largely siding with Biden over Trump. I still think, personally, the gap should be a lot wider. I shared a recent poll. This was, I think, 2 weeks ago now. But I shared a poll who Canadians would pick between Biden and Trump. Canadians that are conservative, Canadians that vote for the Conservative Party in Canada, side with Biden by about, I believe it's 62%. Over Trump. So Canadian conservatives are more for Joe Biden than America is as a whole. That said, this is still a comfortable lead. And if this continues, expect Joe Biden to, when it comes to the popular vote, there aren't even any conservatives predicting that Trump's going to win the popular vote. Really, this all comes down to the Electoral College. Everyone expects Biden to win the popular vote. Also, though, of course, whenever we show polls like this, I have to bring up the fact that Trump continues to undermine the elections. He continues to spread doubt about mail-in balloting. Who knows if he may try and stop the count of the mail-in ballot after the election. So putting all that aside, if everything is equal and people that want to vote can vote, this is what the national lead would likely look like. But let me go to some battleground states now. Start with Arizona, which has become a new battleground. Biden leading by 3.9, almost 4 points here. As you see, it's been fairly consistent, actually, throughout this race. So at no real point except for back in the beginning of the year had Trump led. But now you got Biden up there sitting pretty good at 3.8 in Arizona. Of course, part of this is the McCain family backing Biden over Trump. They have apparently they have some sway there over Republicans. So I'm sure that's part of it. Let's go to let's see here. Florida. Look at that. Also, 3.9. So this is one, again, Florida's been fairly close. You saw it really narrow here at the end of September. But Biden appears to be increasing his lead steadily more recently. Oh, now sitting at 4.2. I got to make sure the line's all the way at the end. So 4.2. Let me just double check Arizona just to make sure I had the correct. No, 4.3. Okay. This line sits where it wants. No, it is 3.8. Jesus Christ. Okay. I think it's 3.8. There we go. Back to Florida. So it appears to be, assuming nothing else changes here. Now it's 4.1. All right. Anyways, around the high threes, low fours. So looking good right now for Biden in Florida. Let's go to Georgia. Another one that's been really close. Biden right now leading by 1.3. This is going to be maybe the closest state in terms of states that can go either way. Because this really has been back and forth, as you can see here, just constantly throughout the race, going back and forth. So we will see if this continues. Let's check out. Check out Iowa. Look at that. So in a recent video, I showed you that in Iowa for the Senate race, you have Greenfield, who's a Democrat, leading Joni Ernst there, the GOP senator, by about 6 points. Here, Biden is barely leading Trump, but he's leading by 0.2. This will be a close one, and I think may depend on that Senate race. But there you go. This, in fact, yeah, over any other state, this actually may be the closest state is Iowa. Let's check out. Let's check out Michigan. Biden leading quite well there, 7.8. This seems to almost be a lock at this point. Again, assuming people can vote, and there's no real issues there. Which, yes, I know is a big assumption. There's definitely going to be it's going to be long lineups, of course, all of that. But I think people that want to vote against Trump, they're going to be committed because they want to get him out. So they will stay on those lines. Let's check out Nevada. All right. Biden looking pretty good there. 6.4. Good. Let's go to North Carolina. Biden leading by 3.1. Man, this election it's very possible. You will see a massive win for Biden. Assuming all this goes right, assuming people can vote, this would be a landslide. And really, you're not seeing Trump tighten in any of these polls. Not nationally, not state by state. Ohio has been really close, though. Let's check Ohio. All right. This is really close. Trump leading by 0.2. This is a weird state. Ohio's a weird state to me. Yeah. I don't really get it. But there you go. Trump's fooled enough people there. Let's check out Pennsylvania. 6.8. All right. Yeah, see, this is the thing as well. If Biden's able to flip enough states like Arizona, like Georgia, Florida, losing a state like Ohio doesn't really matter if he's winning everything else. So, and right now he basically is. Let's check out South Carolina. Trump doing really well there, as expected. Though it's tightening. It's tightened quite a bit. It used to be leading by 12.5 points. It's now down to about 7.3, but that's still a big lead for Trump. A few more here. Texas. This has been a close one as well. Trump now leading by 1.4, almost 1.5 points. Really close. Now 1.7. Really close race. It was tighter around July. Has since widened a little bit. So Trump has gained a bit here in Texas. But again, this is really close. What's left? See Virginia. Okay. Biden's pretty good in Virginia. And it's widening. 13.4. One more. Two more. I want to do West Virginia. All right, there you go. Though I do want to check out at some point Paula Jean Swearengin running in West Virginia for Senate. Would love to see her in the Senate, but that's going to be a tough race. And let's check out Wisconsin. Biden leading there, 7.7. All right, so for the most part, Biden's looking pretty good. Of course, all of this depends on people voting and depends on the votes, the ballots actually being counted. All the mail-in ballots being counted. A lot of Democratic voters are going to vote by mail. Trump is trying to basically ensure that the mail-in balloting vote is at least viewed as something that is not to be trusted. So what more will he do there? Will he be able to stop the count of the vote if he's able to claim election on Victory Day with same-day voting? If he's leading on Election Day, which seems less and less likely the wider this lead gets for Biden, who knows? But all things equal, Biden right now is on track for a landslide victory. And I hate saying that because I don't want to jinx anything. But I'm giving you all the warning ahead of time. All right. I should have brought up as well, because people always want to bring this up. Oh, but 2016, Hillary was only leading by about 4, maybe 5 points on Trump, but it was really 2 to 4 points on Trump in 2016. It's nowhere near what Biden's lead is right now. Biden is leading by a lot. So this is you're comparing apples and oranges, and Trump's victory actually did fall within the margin of error. The issue wasn't the polling. The issue was the media reporting on the polling, acting like a 75% chance or a 70% chance for Hillary meant that she was definitely going to win. When no, within the margin of error, Trump did win because he brought out a lot of people that didn't vote last time, a lot of typical non-voters, a lot of people that maybe weren't honest about who they were going to vote for initially and voted for Trump. But it's a different story this time. And once people have seen 4 years of Trump and how he's conducted himself, I think most people are just tired of it. And you're going to see a lot of voters that did not normally vote or didn't vote last time in 2016 come out and vote against Trump because they're just done with this. And I don't blame them. All right, let's get to some chats now. Matt W. says, agree on Trump, but people are dumber for more insidious reasons too, like the links between the corporate oligarchy, government, and the mass media. Yes, that's true. 100%. Yeah, if anything, the media has had the worst impact on people, for sure. Dwayne Bramble says, hi, great work as always. The corporate Dems mainly care about build their dynasty rather than helping working people. Yes, that's why we fight them. Matt W. says, but less dumb if they watch TRN and similar. Oh, thank you. I mean, it is possible that people actually aren't dumber than 4 years ago, but the people that are with Trump are even more, far gone than they were 4 years ago. So, meaning that it's the potential is there that actually more people are educated, did wake up to Trump's BS, but the people that have stuck with Trump this entire time have just gotten dumber and dumber and dumber, and now they're too far gone. Tyler Cross says, as a person from Indiana, I have to tell you, Ohio does not exist. It's made up. All right, there you go. Proof. Swirly Swirl says, another Hosier here. Ohio is like the slightly smarter cousin to Indiana. Ohio is like the slightly smarter cousin to Indiana. Oh, I see what's happening. A little competition here. All right. Well, it's good to know. I don't think I've been to either. I may have driven through one of those states as a kid, but I wasn't doing the driving, so I don't know. But I don't think I've really stayed in either state. By the way, I always have problems pronouncing that word because it doesn't sound like it looks. Because it looks like Hoosier, but it's Hoosier, isn't it? Or I see the spelling of it screws me up. So if I pronounce that wrong, blame my my reading of it. All right. Let me grab some random chats now. I had potentially more. I mean, this is what happens every week. I have more stories, but I just didn't have time to flesh them out. Oh, I'll share this since I like this story. All right, so I didn't have time to flesh out this story properly, but I do want to share this. I came across this a couple days ago, or I think yesterday. KC Tenants here has blockaded the court entrance. 6 people have chained the doors. The people have closed court for today. Every eviction is an act of violence. So this is about landlords were given the green light to start evicting people. And here, this activist group doing the brilliant work of just locking down the court, locking down landlords' ability to evict their tenants. This you're gonna start seeing more of this. This is direct action. Look, these people, they know what they're doing. They know that they're breaking the law here, but you're gonna continue seeing stuff like this. If there isn't real help given to people, this is going to be a normal way of life. You're going to have groups that have to take this into their own hands, and it's just it's an indication of what's to come, because we are just at the beginning of the eviction crisis in the U.S. And how exactly are people getting by? In fact, I want to see in the comments, how are you getting by? Unemployment is being cut, or it's running out. The one-time check was a one-time check. People have no real financial help. I just have no idea. If you lost your job during this pandemic, and even if you're able to find another job, a lot of people, even if you have a job, you're not making enough to live because the minimum wage is so low. People are paid pennies in America. This keeps repeating itself. So I just don't know how people live right now. It's crazy there. But there you go. Here you go. Ben Bamboo says, I was evicted due to the pandemic. I'm sure that's a lot of people. All right. All right, more chats here. Hoosier is like owl saying who. Interesting. Miranda Writes Left says voter suppression / interference was not anywhere near this blatant criminal level in 2016 either. Vote, 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 y'all. I'm begging you. Tyler Cross says it's actually pronounced Indianer. What's that in relation to? You mean Indiana? I'm not going to get in your little squabbles here. But thank you for your super chat. All right. Any random chats before I go? Chat is going a mile a minute. Frank Valdivia says, David, can you talk about Prop 22 and how it is actually better for the workers to stay independent, as I am one of them and don't want to be an employee? The freedom cannot be understated. I think I covered this a few months ago. If I'm not mistaken, there is some disagreement on that. Now, I'm not denying what you're saying and how you feel, but my understanding is that you would still, anyways, I don't want to talk out of turn because I covered this months ago. I'm not even going to say anything because I actually completely forget my coverage on it. I cover so many stories. But yeah, this is over gig workers and whether or not they will be treated as employees by companies like Uber, or whether they will continue to be basically independent contractors, I believe. So some people that work in this field, they want to be able to remain independent. My understanding is it's not that it would strip away your independence. It's that it would raise your again, I'm speaking out of turn, but that it would raise your potential benefits and wages. But I am hearing differing views on this. So it just, the issue I have is it's surprising to me that worker-backed groups, that groups that are working in the interests of the average individual, would be pushing the wrong position, considering that it is their role to represent the average worker. So if there are groups that are, progressive groups that are backing the other side, I would like to hear their arguments. And it's something I'll look more into. I will, because this is a story that I did cover a while ago, but I haven't checked it out recently. So I'm going to make a note of it right now. All right, but thanks for raising that. I just don't want to talk too much about it because I'm not refreshed on the entire subject. MT says FedEx uses contractor drivers to deliver. They suffer. I mean, it I think it depends, right? I wouldn't really lump in FedEx drivers the same as Uber drivers. So I don't think it's exactly, the right comparison. But again, this is a subject I need to read more on. Did I hear another super chat? Or am I hearing things? There is one. Literal Lil says, a few months ago I got sick and had to be out of work. Had to take out my 401k to avoid eviction. Yeah. I don't know what to say. I imagine a lot of people are going through very similar things. There's going to be a time when people are going to get the power back. It's just a matter of time. Things they can't go in one direction without something breaking. And I think you're beginning to see some of that now. Alleyway Mindhook says even Hassan Piker can take the time to address third-party voters' points one by one. That's someone who's actually changing minds. I got no chats about this. I'll happily address third-party voters' points, as I have in many of my streams. So if you bring up some points, I can do so. The problem is with this chat moving a mile a minute, it's hard for me to see when people are sending that stuff in. But if I see a particular question about, I actually enjoy engaging in those discussions. Because I've discussed it a million times. I mean, I get it. As somebody who ran as a third party candidate in an election, I get it. And there are some people who there are some people where they don't want their minds to be changed. They feel how they feel, and that's fine. I'm not going to argue with people who have been voting green their entire lives. That's how they identify. Their identity's tied up in it. There's very little chance anyone's going to change that person's mind. But when it comes to people that just lean left, that are of the left, and are dissatisfied with what Biden's offering, I just don't see what the argument is to vote third party in an election where you don't live in a parliamentary system. If there was any time when, say the Greens, for example, if there was any time they would have hit 5%, it would have been 2016, when you had two hated candidates, the two most hated candidates in any election, and they still couldn't hit 5%. It's not going to happen this time. It just isn't. I will bet you. Can I bet you? Is there a way? Anybody in the chat? I will bet you that they will not hit 5%. Because look who's done more for politics, the discussion nationally over the past 30 years. The Green Party or Bernie Sanders and AOC? I think it's obvious Bernie Sanders and AOC have moved the conversation more in the past 4 years than the Green Party has in their entire existence in America. I'm not sure how you could even deny that. You may accept that and still vote the way you want to vote. Of course, I'm not going to argue with you. But just basing it on the power, the impact that certain individuals or certain organizations have had or haven't had, it's just undeniable. So it's, and even in Canada, like, we have a parliamentary system, but it really depends on what riding you're in. If you are in a riding where it's going to be, I don't know, say it's a three-way race between Liberal, NDP, Conservative, then obviously vote for the NDP. But and that's even if you're a Green supporter. A lot of Green supporters, they're not necessarily Green voters or part of the Green base, but they would prefer to vote Green over, say, the NDP. But they would vote for the NDP if they're voting in a riding where the NDP have a bigger shot than the Greens do. It's all of this changes depending on the context, depending on where you live, what the political system is, based on polling, based on the ability for certain groups to actually build a movement. The idea that the Green Party can just parachute in every 4 years and somehow make an impact. I mean, how many times do they have to be proven wrong? It's a failing strategy. At least get somebody in Congress first. Win a House seat. Show you actually have some power. But to just put all the effort into the top of the ticket, it's weird. And when you even have people like Cornel West, who was the headline speaker at the People's Party convention, Cornel West saying he's going to vote for Biden because he's voting against fascism. I mean, I think it's important to take a pause and just listen to people who have been around longer, who know more, and who are engaged in the same fight you are and have been their entire lives, and understand that this is a unique time. And you have to get rid of Trump. Otherwise, forget about voting in 4 years. If Trump wins the election, don't expect a normal election in 4 years. In fact, expect him to increase his term limit, expect him to stay longer, expect there to not be a normal election. Democracy's gone. I mean, it's kind of already gone in many ways. But in terms of just the ability to vote, do not expect a normal election in 4 years if Trump's the president. So it really is a different time. All right, some questions here. Maniac Goon says, as a FedEx driver contractor, we make $150 a day. All right. I'm not sure how to put that in context, but you're definitely underpaid. Michelle Smale says Oregon has some really progressive ballot measures you should check out. 107 and 110 are my favorites. All right. Maybe I'll do like a ballot measure video. Do California, do Oregon. Matt W says not just break, it's ready to explode in the US. Yeah, in terms of what I was saying earlier about the what people are dealing with. All right. I'm enjoying sitting here, but it's probably time to go. What did I just do? There we go. Black Caucus says people don't understand that if Trump wins this election, there will be no progressive president because we will never have another free or fair election. Yeah, I agree with you. And at the same time, look at the impact. Look at the impact that Hillary losing last time had. There was this assumption. I mean, first of all, I'm amazed we're even still having this discussion. I'm not sure if anybody watching even really believes that voting third party in this election would do anything. But if you do, look at 2016. There was this assumption that, hey, if Hillary loses, then it'll be a signal to the Democratic Party. They got to go left. They got to support the progressive candidate in 2020. And that's going to be the way to win. It'll be the end of neoliberalism when Hillary loses. What else do I have to say? Trump winning lowered the bar so much that Joe Biden became the acceptable candidate. Joe Biden became an acceptable nominee. All it does is lower the bar. So look at when Bernie Sanders came in. He came after 8 years of Obama. 8 years of a neoliberal presidency. People were dissatisfied. Bernie did better in 2016, came closer in 2016 than he did in 2020. A neoliberal sets you up for the higher chance of a victory as a progressive candidate later on than a GOP presidency does. And we just saw that. But I feel like these were discussions I was having in the summer. I mean, I feel like I'm over this now. I'm not sure what else there is to say. All right. Thank you all for showing up. Great time. There is one more story. I'm not going to show it, but I'll show you what it's about. Because in fact, this may actually count. This may cause YouTube to pull down this video, as this may be considered assault. But Trump supporter here coughing on protesters. What a cool guy. Yeah. So that was a story I was almost going to do, but I didn't. And just because it's kind of depressing and weird. All right. Oh, I didn't even bring it up. Whatever. Do you need to see it? Here. There you go. Yeah, anyways, this guy goes and coughs on people, and yeah. I feel like I dodged a bullet not covering that. I don't want to get my blood pressure up. But anyways, thank you all for showing up. Thank you for your super chats. Thank you for subbing. Hit sub, hit like, and I will see you again next week. See you later.